Welcome to today's deep dive. If you are that ever-curious learner who loves unraveling how people navigate impossible situations, you are in the exact right place.
Yeah, we have a really fascinating one today. We are opening up an intricate new world.
We really are. Our source material is a stack of excerpts from the modernized, highly inclusive historical fiction novel La Révolte de la Reine, or The Queen's Revolt, by Morgane Moncomble.
And it is such a rich, atmospheric text.
Correct.
We are stepping into a reimagined France in May of 1788.
Right before everything boils over.
Exactly. The political atmosphere is electric. It's heavy with the threat of revolution. And right at the center of this storm, we have a reluctant Austrian princess, a cynical, ailing French king, and a kingdom demanding stability that neither of them wants to provide.
So the mission for this deep dive is to unpack the intricate dynamics of power, duty, and rebellion. We are looking at all of this through the eyes of two royals forced into a political marriage they both absolutely despise.
Which is always a great setup for a story.
Always. Great. Let's unpack this, because the opening sequence plunges you right into a life or death scenario.
Yeah, the text wastes no time establishing the stakes. It forces the reader to confront the brutal reality of this world before we even see a single palace.
Right. We meet Princess Acacia, and her introduction to France is this visceral fight for survival. She is running barefoot through the thorny Campagne forest. Her dress is torn, she is bleeding, and she is fleeing from armed brigands who just slaughtered her entire royal convoy. The author really focuses on the sensory details here.
The smell of smoke, the pain of the forest floor.
Exactly, and the cold barrel of a pistol pressed against her throat when she is finally cornered.
And just when her survival seems impossible, the narrative introduces Gabriel. He is a towering royal bodyguard with onyx skin and this thick scar slicing across his right eye.
A very dramatic entrance.
Very. In a split second, he throws a dagger into her attacker's jugular. It's a harsh, bloody rescue, but it immediately pivots the story from physical survival to political survival.
Yeah.
Because Gabriel suspects these attackers might be tied to a faction called the Diamant Noir, or the Black Diamond.
Right.
What's fascinating here is how the text uses this attack to outline the broader political machinery of this world. We have to look at the Black Diamond objectively based on the source material.
Right, staying totally neutral here.
Exactly. To the French crown, this group is a clandestine network of spies and saboteurs threatening national stability. But to the populace, the Black Diamond represents the people fighting for freedom from an oppressive system.
So this assassination attempt on Acacia isn't just random highway robbery.
No, it is a calculated political statement. The revolutionaries want to stop this royal marriage because a new queen might consolidate the king's wavering power.
That brings up a really fascinating contrast. While Acacia is fighting for her life in the mud, King Alexandre is waiting for her at the Palace of Versailles. And Alexandre is far from the classic Prince Charming.
Not at all.
He is sick, he operates with a heavy dose of cynicism, and he is actually standing by a window hoping the assassination attempt was successful so he can avoid the wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, why would a king actively root against an alliance that would secure his own throne?
Well, because he views the throne itself as a curse. Alexander's internal monologue reveals a deep resentment for the crown. He carries immense survivor's guilt, feeling like he stole the throne from his beloved deceased older brother, Louis.
Wow.
Yeah, Alexander tells himself he is merely a wooden puppet playing a role he was never meant to play. He knows Acacia is an Austrian pawn sent to infiltrate his court, and his instinct is to just reject the entire system.
So that survival instinct Acacia shows in the forest has to adapt to a vastly different kind of warfare once she reaches Versailles. She arrives wrapped in a blood-stained cape and is thrust into this overwhelming environment of rose-pale walls, gold balustrades, and a staggering staff of thousands. She meets Jeanne, her new lady-in-waiting, but a friendly face does not ease the sudden, suffocating isolation of her new reality.
The contrast is jarring by design. I mean, she trades a forest full of literal assassins for a palace full of political ones. Versailles is beautiful, but the text quickly establishes it as a gilded cage.
And we see that cage manifest physically the very next morning. Acacia is forced into this exquisite white and silver silk wedding dress, heavily embroidered with acacia flowers. But the real focal point of the scene is the corset.
Yeah.
Her attendants pull the strings so tight that she is completely deprived of air. She leans against the bedpost, gasping, stating she can barely breathe, let alone eat. And her lady-in-waiting just looks at her, satisfied, and declares the look perfect.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the physical toll of this royal duty is profound. That corset is functioning as a tangible tool of oppression. The court is actively molding her, compressing her down into a docile asset. They prioritize her appearance over her basic human functions. The text uses the term gilded vitrine, painting her as an ornate display case meant only to showcase the crown's power and eventually provide an heir.
So she is essentially being turned into a museum exhibit. You can draw a direct line from that corset to the behavioral corsets people still wear today.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about modern professional environments or social circles where individuals are expected to project a flawless image, even if it causes them profound silent stress.
It's exhausting.
It is. But Acacia recognizes this erasure immediately, and she finds a small way to push back.
Her refusal to wear the magnificent diamond necklace gifted by King Alexandra is a prime example of that resistance. The court superintendent tries to force the issue, but Acacia insists on wearing a simple sapphire heart pendant given to her by her sister.
The sapphire holds specific meaning for her, doesn't it?
It does. Alexandra later points out that the sapphire symbolizes loyalty and sincerity. By choosing a piece of jewelry tied to her homeland and her family, rather than the diamonds meant to mark her as the king's property, Acacia establishes a stubborn refusal to completely surrender her core identity. It's a quiet yet firm act of defiance.
And that defiance really sets the stage for their very first face-to-face interaction. Before the wedding ceremony, they are forced to ride together in a royal carriage to parade in front of the people. Acacia hides behind a veil and refuses to speak. Alexandra, perhaps testing her boundaries, demands to know if he has the right to a single word from his future wife. Acacia looks at him and delivers exactly one word: acrimony.
It is such a brilliant, sharp exchange. She gives him precisely what he asked for, while simultaneously summarizing the bitter hostility of their forced arrangement.
And Alexandra retaliates by comparing her to a disobedient dog.
Which is wild.
Yeah, but Acacia doesn't flinch. She fires back, telling him if he wanted a dog, he got the wrong one. She dares him to reach out his hand and see how hard she bites.
They are sizing each other up, realizing they are equally matched in wit and equally unwilling to yield any power.
Here's where it gets really interesting. They endure the grueling wedding ceremony, exchanging vows while glaring at each other. But later that afternoon, the pressure of the crowds, the suffocating dress, and the reality of her trapped existence just become too much.
Yeah, she needs out.
Acacia seeks a moment of escape. She squeaks into a side room, kicks off her high heels, and climbs out onto a first-floor window ledge.
Doing that in a heavy silk gown is a massive risk. It highlights her desperation to reclaim even a fraction of autonomy.
Right as her lady-in-waiting calls out, Acacia slips. She falls backward off the ledge, bracing for a devastating impact.
But she doesn't hit the ground.
Nope. Instead, she lands in a pair of strong arms. It's Alexandra. He catches her. And the reason he happens to be standing under that specific window in the deserted gardens is because he was also outside trying to hide from their own wedding reception.
The irony there underscores their shared predicament so well. They are both desperate to escape the exact same prison, and their attempts at evasion cause them to collide head-on.
The banter in the grass afterward is electric. Alexandra asks if she has an appointment, accusing her of trying to assassinate him by dropping onto his head.
Classic deflection.
Exactly. And Acacia fiercely maintains she just needed air, but he refuses to let her go, noticing both her frustrating defiance and that sapphire necklace, and he questions her loyalty.
This moment shatters their preconceived notions of one another. Alexandra realizes she is not a fragile, docile pawn.
And Acacia realizes he is not a weak, checked-out figurehead.
Exactly. The tension is palpable because the masks they wore for the court are slipping.
And the real test of these slipping masks arrives that evening during the wedding night. The narrative slows down here to build the tension. The court escorts them to the royal bedchamber, and the doors lock.
And Acacia's ready for a fight.
Oh, totally. She washes off her makeup, revealing that her seemingly perfect beauty mark was actually fake. She stands there in a simple linen nightgown, wielding a heavy metal candelabra as a weapon. She threatens to maim Alexandra if he takes a step closer, vowing she will never submit to him.
This confrontation is so pivotal. Acacia anticipates a physical struggle for dominance, but Alexandra subverts her expectations entirely. He remains calm and just pulls a hidden dagger from his coat.
But wait. If Alexandra hates the crown and resents this forced marriage, why does he go out of his way to fake the consummation? Wouldn't refusing to consummate it be the ultimate rebellion against the court?
That is a great question. And it comes down to controlling the narrative. Alexandra understands that an unconsummated marriage leaves them both incredibly vulnerable to court gossip and political maneuvering by their enemy.
Because the spies are watching everything.
Exactly. The spies will literally check the bed sheets the next morning. So by slicing his own palm and letting his blood stain the sheets, he takes control of the story. It's a bloody bargain. He demonstrates that he can manipulate the reality of the court far better than the court can manipulate him.
Okay, so he neutralizes the immediate threat of the court, but then he turns his focus back to Acacia. The pacing of the scene gets very tight. With his bloody fingers, Alexandra reaches out and snuffs the room's candles, one by one.
It's such a cinematic visual.
As the room grows darker, he admits his mastery of deception. He calls her a political bribe from a treacherous country. He snuffs the final candle, plunging them into darkness, and delivers a chilling whisper. He says, "If you ever betray me, I will not hesitate to have you killed, my queen."
It is a stark reset of the stakes. The carriage banter was sharp, but this threat grounds the story in reality. He is reminding her that despite their shared desire to escape, he holds the ultimate authority. Her life depends entirely on her loyalty.
Following that intense threat, Alexandra leaves on a military campaign for several weeks, and their primary method of communication becomes a series of passive-aggressive letters.
They are hilarious.
Acacia signs off with dripping sarcasm, claiming her grief over his absence is so unbearable she frequently forgets the sound of his voice. She declares it her duty to ruin his reputation by partying in Paris.
And Alexandra replies with equal cynicism, noting he shares her love of keeping bad company. This correspondence serves a dual purpose, though. The physical distance provides a safe space for them to continue their intellectual sparring without the immediate threat of violence or court scrutiny.
But Acacia isn't just writing letters while he is gone. She takes advantage of his absence to build her own foundation. She forms a tight inner circle, a secret alliance with Jean and Gabriel, calling themselves like aux audacieux, the audacious ones.
I love that.
Me too. They develop secret signals like massaging an earlobe to signal a rescue from a tedious conversation. And once she has her trusted team, she starts dismantling the rules. Her first major move. She stops wearing corsets completely.
This raises an important question about the mechanics of power in a highly restrictive society. If you lack legal authority or military might, how do you exert control?
Right.
Acacia's strategy is to weaponize the only currency available to her, which is visibility and social influence. By discarding the corset, she creates a massive scandal.
The court is horrified, but they're also completely obsessed with her. Rumors circulate about her monstrous appetite, so Acacia leans into it. She orders massive, sugary pastries from the kitchens.
Yeah, the text notes she single-handedly turns the Viennese Madeleine into the new trendy croissant.
She hates the dark palace decor too, so she redesigns her private rooms with bright pink and mauve velvet.
This is a masterclass in what political scientists call soft power.
Soft power?
Yeah, soft power is the ability to shape the preferences of others through appeal and attraction rather than coercion. In the ecosystem of Versailles, the social hierarchy dictates that the court mimics the apex. If the queen eats a certain pastry or wears a certain fabric, it instantly becomes a status symbol.
Ah, I see.
Acacia realizes that by dominating the cultural trends, she's effectively commanding the attention of the entire kingdom.
And that attention comes with massive political implications. When Alexandra returns from his campaign, exhausted and seeking rest, his Grand Chamberlain, Augustin, intercepts him. Augustin delivers a dire warning. He says Acacia's immense popularity is actually a massive threat to the throne.
Because Augustin recognizes the danger of a rival power center. Alexandra rules through detachment and a degree of fear. Acacia is beginning to rule through adoration.
Which is dangerous.
Extremely. In a kingdom teetering on the edge of a populist revolution, a queen who commands the love of the masses possesses dangerous leverage. If she chose to, she could harness that popularity to turn the public firmly against the king. Augustin warns Alexander that ignoring his wife's cultural influence could literally cost him the kingdom.
So Alexander knows Augustin makes a valid point. He needs to see this influence firsthand. He discovers Acacia is not at Versailles. She has traveled to Paris for a notorious masked ball hosted by his chaotic cousin Armand.
Armand's parties are the epitome of aristocratic excess. They are dangerous, unpredictable, and highly inappropriate for a queen navigating a fragile political landscape.
Exactly.
Armand represents the rot within the aristocracy that the Black Diamond is fighting against. For Acacia to be present, there is a massive risk, but it also demonstrates her absolute confidence in navigating different social spheres.
Alexander decides to track her down. He disguises himself behind a deep red mask and enters this overwhelming room of uninhibited debauchery. People are engaging in every vice imaginable, but through the heat and the crowd, he spots her.
The visual contrast in this scene is so striking.
It is. He sees his wife holding court on a velvet bench. She's entirely unbothered by the chaos surrounding her. She wears her own mask, laughing that magnetic laugh that just pulls everyone in her orbit closer.
Yeah.
She is playing the game of courtly intrigue with absolute mastery. Alexandre, watching from behind his red mask, experiences a profound realization. He sees firsthand the intoxicating, undeniable power his wife actually wields.
This climax at the masked ball perfectly encapsulates the thematic core of the source material. Acacia and Alexandre are trapped in a constant state of performance.
Right.
They perform for the watchful eyes of the court, they perform to manage the unrest of the kingdom, and most intensely, they perform for each other. They utilize biting sarcasm, calculated fashion choices, and quiet rebellion as their armor. By doing so, they blur the line between who they truly are and the roles they are forced to play.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We just explored a reimagined history focused on two individuals pinned down by duty, crushing expectations, and the looming threat of violence. They navigate a treacherous world where a misplaced word or a rebellious dress code carries literal life or death consequences. They survive by wearing masks.
And sometimes those masks are literal, like at Armand's ball, but mostly they are metaphorical. Acacia's pink velvet decor and missing corset serve the exact same protective function as Alexandre's cynical, detached persona. They project these curated images to shield their vulnerable, authentic selves from a society eager to tear them apart.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to explore. Consider the environments you navigate daily, your workplace, your family dynamics, your digital presence. When placed in situations requiring a specific persona, how do the masks you wear protect you? Using humor to deflect criticism, projecting a flawless image online, or adopting a stoic demeanor in a meeting? These are modern forms of armor, but it raises a critical question. At what point do those protective masks stop being the armor that keeps you safe and start becoming just another cage that keeps you trapped? Think about that the next time you prepare to face a difficult environment. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, and we will see you next time.